This song's called Alice's Restaurant. It's about Alice and the restaurant. But Alice's Restaurant is not the name of the restaurant. That's just the name of the song. That's why I called the song Alice's Restaurant. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. Walk right in, it's around the back, just a half a mile from the railroad track. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. Now it all started 2 Thanksgivings ago. It was 2 years ago on Thanksgiving when my friend and I went up to visit Alice at the restaurant. But Alice doesn't live in the restaurant. She lives in the church nearby the restaurant in the bell tower with her husband Ray and Fausha the dog. And living in the bell tower like that, they got a lot of room downstairs where the pews used to be in. And having all that room downstairs, they decided that they didn't have to take out their garbage for a long time. So we got up there and found all the garbage in there, and we decided it'd be a friendly gesture for us to take the garbage down to the city dump. So we took a half a ton of garbage, put it in the back of a red VW microbus, took shovels and rakes and implements of destruction, and headed on towards the city dump. Well, we got there, and there's a big sign and a chain across the dump saying closed on Thanksgiving, and we had never heard of a dump closed on Thanksgiving before, and with tears in our eyes, we drove off into the sunset looking for another place to put the garbage. We didn't find one. Till we came to a side road, and off the side of the side road was another 15-foot cliff, and at the bottom of the cliff was another pile of garbage. We decided that one big pile was better than 2 little piles, and rather than bring that one up, we decided to throw ours down. That's what we did. Drove back to the church, had a Thanksgiving dinner that couldn't be beat, went to sleep, and didn't get up until the next morning when we got a phone call from Officer Obi. He said, "Kid, we found your name on an envelope at the bottom of a half a ton of garbage and just wanted to know if you had any information about it." And I said, "Yes, sir, Officer Obi, I cannot tell a lie. I put that envelope under that garbage." After speaking to Obi for about 45 minutes on the telephone, we finally arrived at the truth of the matter and said we had to go down and pick up the garbage and also had to go down and speak to him at the police officer station. So we got in the red VW microbus with the shovels and rakes and implements of destruction and headed on towards the police officer station. Now, friends, there was only 1 or 2 things that Obi could have done at the police officer station. The first was that he could have given us a medal for being so brave and honest on the telephone, which wasn't very likely, and we didn't expect it. And the other thing was that he could have bawled us out and told us never to be seen driving garbage around the vicinity again, which is what we expected. But when we got to the police officer station, there was a third possibility that we hadn't even counted upon, and we was both immediately arrested, handcuffed. And I said, "Obi, I don't think I can pick up the garbage with these handcuffs on." He said, "Shut up, kid. Get in the back of the patrol car." And we sat in the back of the patrol car and drove to the, quote, scene of the crime, unquote. I want to tell you about the town of Stockbridge, Massachusetts, where this is happening here. They got 3 stop signs, 2 police officers, and 1 police car. But when we got to the scene of the crime, they had 5 police officers and 3 police cars, being the biggest crime of the last 50 years, and everybody wanted to get in on the newspaper story about it. And they was using up all kinds of cop equipment that they had hanging around the police officer station. They were taking plaster from tire tracks, footprints, dog-smelling prints, and they took 27 8x10 color glossy photographs with circles and arrows and a paragraph on the back of each one, explaining what each one was to be used as evidence against us. Took pictures of the approach, the getaway, the northwest corner, the southwest corner, and that's not to mention the aerial photography. After the ordeal, we went back to the jail, and Obi said he was going to put us in the cell. He said, "Kid, I'm going to put you in the cell. I want your wallet in your belt." And I said, "Obi, I can understand you want my wallet so I don't have any money to spend in the cell, but what do you want my belt for?" And he said, "Kid, we don't want any hangings." I said, "Obi, did you think I was going to hang myself for littering?" Obi said he was making sure, and friends Obi was, because he took out the toilet seat so I couldn't hit myself over the head and drown. And he took out the toilet paper so I couldn't bend the bars, throw out the roll of toilet paper out the window, slide down the roll, and have an escape. Obi was making sure, and it was about 3 or 4 hours later that Alice, remember Alice? It's a song about Alice. Alice came by with a few nasty words to Obie on the side, bailed us out of jail, and we went back to the church, had another Thanksgiving dinner that couldn't be beat, went to sleep and didn't get up until the next morning when we all had to go to court. We walked in and sat down. Obie came in with 27 8x10 color glossy pictures and sat down. Man came in, said, "All rise." We all stood up. Obie stood up with the 27 8x10 color glossy photographs. And Judge walked in, sat down with a CNI dog. He sat down. We sat down. Obie looked at the CNI dog. And then at the 27 8x10 color glossy pictures with the circles and arrows and a paragraph on the back each one, and looked at the CNI dog. And then he looked at the 27 8x10 color glossy pictures with the circles and arrows and a paragraph on the back each one, and began to cry because Obie came to the realization that the judge wasn't going to look at the 27 8x10 color glossy pictures, and this was a typical case of American blind justice. And we was fined $50 and had to pick up the garbage in the snow, but it's not what I came to tell you about. Came to talk about the draft. Got a building down New York City. It's called Whitehall Street, where you walk in, you get injected, inspected, detected, neglected, and selected. Went down to get my physical examination one day and walked in, sat down. Got good and drunk the night before, so I looked and felt my best when I went in that morning, because I wanted to look like that. I wanted to feel like that. I wanted to be an all-American kid from New York, and walked in, I sat down, I was hummed down, brung down, hung up, and all kinds of mean, nasty things, and man gave me a piece of paper, said, "See the psychiatrist, room 604. So I went up there and said, "Shrink, I want to kill. I want to kill. I want to see blood and gore and guts and veins in my teeth. Eat dead, burnt bodies. Kill. 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 Kill." And he started jumping up and down, and I was yelling, "Kill, kill." And the sergeant started jumping up and down with me, and we was both jumping up and down, yelling, "Kill, kill." The sergeant came over, pinned a medal on me, sent me down the hall, said, "You're our boy." Didn't feel too good about it, but I proceeded on down the hall, getting more injections, inspections, detections, and all kinds of stuff that they was doing to me at the thing. Man, I was there for 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. I was there for a long time, going through all kinds of mean, nasty, ugly things, and just having a tough time. And man, when it came to finally see the very last man, walked up and said, "What do you want?" And he said, "Kid, we only got one question for you. Have you ever been arrested?" And I proceeded to tell him the story of Alice's Restaurant Massacre with the full orchestration and 5-part harmony and other stuff and other phenomena. And he stopped me right there and he said, "Kid, did you ever go to court?" And I proceeded to tell him the story of the 27 8x10 color glossy photographs with the circles and arrows and a paragraph on the back of each one. And he stopped me right there and said, "Kid, I want you to go over and sit down on that bench. It says Group W. Now, kid." And I walked over to the bench there, and these Group W's where they put you if you may not be moral enough to join the army after committing your special crime. And there's all kinds of mean, nasty, ugly-looking people on the bench. There's mother rapers, father stabbers, father rapers sitting right there on the bench right next to me, and it was mean and nasty and ugly and horrible and crime-fighting guys, and the meanest, ugliest, nastiest one, the meanest father raper of them all, came over to me and sat down next to me and said, "Kid, what'd you get?" I said, "I didn't get nothing. I had to pay $50 and pick up the garbage in the snow." He said, "What were you arrested for, kid?" And I said, "Littering." And they all moved away from me on the bench there and hairy eyeball and all kinds of mean, nasty, ugly things, till I said, "and creating a nuisance." And they all came back, shook my hand. We had a great time on the bench talking about crime, mother stabbing, father raping, and all kinds of groovy things that we were talking about on the bench. And everything was fine. We was smoking cigarettes and all kinds of stuff, till a man came over, had some paper in his hand, held it up and said, "Kids, This piece of paper got 47 words, 37 cents, 58 words. We want to know detailed crime, time of the crime, and then every kind of thing you got to say pertaining to about the crime, the arrest officer's name, every kind of thing you got to say. And he talked for 45 minutes, and nobody understood a word that he said, but we had fun filling out the forms and playing with the pencils on the bench there. And I filled out the massacre and put it down there just like it was, and put down the pencil and turned over the piece of paper, and there on the other side, in the middle of the other side, away from everything else on the other side, in parentheses, capital letters, quotated, read the following words. Kid, have you rehabilitated yourself? And I went over to the sergeant and I said, Sergeant, you got a lot of damn gall to ask me if I'm moral enough to join the army, burn women, kids, houses, and villages after being a litter bug. And he looked at me and said, Kid, we don't like your kind. We're going to send your fingerprints off to Washington, and friends, somewhere in Washington is enshrined in some little folder is a study in black and white of my fingerprints. And the only reason I'm singing you this song now is you may know somebody in a similar situation, or you may be in a similar situation. And if you're in a situation like that, there's only one thing you can do. It's walk into the shrink, wherever you are, walk into the shrink and say, you can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. Walk out. Now, if one person does it, then they think he's really sick and they won't take him. And if two people do it in harmony, then they think they're both faggots and they won't take either of them. And if three people did it, can you imagine 3 people walking in, singing at Bar Alice's restaurant, walking out? Friends, they may think it's an organization. And if 50 people a day, can you imagine 50 people a day walking in, singing at Bar Alice's restaurant, walking out, and they may think it's a movement. And that's what it is. It's the Alice's Restaurant End Time Massacre movement. And all you gotta do to join is to sing it the next time it comes around on the guitar. With feeling. So we'll just wait till it comes around on the guitar again and sing it when it does. You can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. You can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. Walk right in, it's around the back, just a half a mile from the railroad track. You can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. That was horrible. You want to end the war and stuff? I mean, I've been singing this song now for 25 minutes. I could sing it for another 25 minutes. I'm not proud or tired. So this time we'll wait till it comes around again, and this time with 4-part harmony and feeling. We're just waiting for it to come around is what we're doing. You can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant, excepting Alice. You can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. Walk right in, it's around the back, just a half a mile from the railroad track. You can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. Da 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 da. At Alice's restaurant. All right,
There it is.